Welcome everyone today. My name is Mr. O and I'm going to be going through specifically the SAT Practice Exam 1, questions number 13 through 15. If you want the instructions for the prior problems, please do watch the other videos where I explain how to do them. But for this video, as usual, what I do is that I usually go through the problem real quick, show you that I could do it really fast, and then I go and break down that problem afterwards. And so for this problem, number 13, I'm going to go through it right now, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, so number 13, if x greater than 3, okay. So I see that. Okay. Okay, I see that. Okay, so for number 13, my final answer for this question is B. And now I'm going to explain to you how I was able to solve this question out. So for number 13, okay, so for number 13, the question states this. It tells me that x is greater than 3, and then it tells me that it's 1 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 3. And at least when I see this problem, the condition that's provided right here is only to ensure, usually, is only to ensure that there are no invalid answers. So usually that means that they just want to prevent you from getting 1 over 0, which is usually undefined, okay? And so that's usually the purpose of this. Aside from that, it's not really important, and so I'm not going to worry about that. And so right afterwards, since they mentioned this, first thing I wanted to do was to find the least common denominators. And I want to make sure that this fraction shares something with this fraction shares something with this fraction, and so that I could combine them and make it less complicated. And so for this question, I noticed that for this one, it's missing x plus 3. So I'm going to add x plus 3 over x plus 3 and multiply it into that x plus 2. So times 1 over x plus 2. And so I realized that, but for the other one, as I mentioned, since this one has x plus 3, it's missing x plus 2. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 2. So there, 1 over x. And so what's going to happen is that this whole fraction right here will, when I combine it all together for its parts, it's going to be x plus 3 over x plus 3, x plus 2, plus, well, it's x plus 2 over x plus 3, x plus 2. And I was able to jump that sort of step because I realized that, well, I'm going to just need the components of one of the fractions to the other one, the other to the other one. And so I jumped that step right there. Okay, and so afterwards, what I do was I need to combine these because they have like denominators, and that means that I could combine the numerators together, the top parts right here together. So that's going to be x plus 3 plus x plus 2 over x plus 3, x plus 2. And so that means that when I simplify this even more, and I combine these terms, 2x plus 5 over, now I could actually, do the box method if you're familiar with the Common Core format, or I could just do the foiling method, which is the old traditional format. And so right here, it's going to end up being x squared plus 5x plus 6. And so after I get these answers, I know that because I have a fraction over this, usually how I think of it is like this. It's 1 divided by 2x plus 5 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. But one thing that I learned was that when I'm doing divided by a fraction, I could do the reciprocal. I could flip these together and make it multiply by. So 1 times the x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 2x plus 5. And so since I'm just multiplying by 1, my final answer is going to be x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 2x plus 5. And I know my final answer for this question is going to be B. And that concludes number 13's explanation. Just to continue on, I'm going to continue on to number 14. And so 14 states this. So 3x minus y. Okay, so 3x minus y equals 12. What's the value? Okay, well, okay, got it. Okay. Okay, well, I could move that over. Okay, got it. So this is okay. Oh, okay. So number 14 answer is going to be A. And now I'm going to explain to you how I got number 14's answer. And so number 14 states this. It tells me that 3x minus y equals to 12, and they're wondering what is the value of 8 to the x over 2 to the y. And when I was doing this question, there is a rule that you must know in order to do this question. It's It's a concept of exponential rules. So when we are working through exponential rules, there's one rule that is applied to this question. But before I go into the explanation of that, I'm gonna explain just basically how I approached it. So when I saw this part, I wanted to do was break this down to something at least similar base value. So that means right now my base value for this is 2 while this one's 8. And I could simplify this 8 by making it 2 to the 3x over 2 to the y, just like this. And so when I am doing this question, I noticed that because I got 3 to the 3x and I see a 3x right here, I want to get rid of one of these variables. I want them all either x or all of them y. And I see that there's an easy way for me to get rid of this 3x and make it a y. So the way I could do it is by putting plus y on both sides. And by doing so, 3x equals to 12 plus y. And that means I could substitute this 3x out and replace it with that. And so that is what I'm going to actually do. So 12 plus y over 2 to the y. And so now that I got to this point right here, I realized that there is a rule that exists. This is where the exponential rules come in. And there's a special rule that tells me that when I have a plus value on the power, it's the same thing as me breaking it into two parts, saying 2 to the 12, 2 to the y, over 2 to the y, just like this. And because the exponential rule allows me to do this, now I could finish it off. 2 to the y, these cancel out, and I'm left with 2 to the 12. Thus, I know my answer is going to be 8. And that is my explanation for number 14. And so now to explain for the very last question. So the last question states this. Okay, so it tells me that, okay, got it. So a plus b equals to 8. Okay, well, I know that it's going to be abx squared plus 7ax plus 2bx plus 14. Okay, so this is going to be 15x squared. This part's going to be cx. This is going to be 14. So I don't care about those. Okay, well, that means ab equals to 15. That means 5 and 3. Yeah, 5 and 3. Okay, so that means that if I want to plug into here, I also know that 7a plus 2b equals to c. So let's say 5 and 3. 5 and 3. 7 times 5, 35. 3 times 2 is 6 equals 41. Okay, I see 41. Okay. So I was able to solve 15, and now I'm going to explain to you how I was able to get the answer D for number 15. And so for number 15, it states this. It says that it's ax plus 2, bx plus 7 equals to 15x squared plus cx plus 14. And it also states that a plus b equals to 8. And I noticed that there's a lot of variables, and thus I realized that I need to find a format that could help me solve this out. And so what I wanted to do was still FOIL this out. I didn't know really it was going to work in the beginning, but then the point is that when I worked through this, I could try to figure out if there's any clues that are given to me because I was able to FOIL this out. And so if you look right here, my ab x squared, this part and this part has to equal to each other. And thus I know ab has to equal to 15. That is for certain because abx squared is equal to the 15x squared, and that's the only component that both shares x squared. And so I don't have to worry about these parts anymore. Now I have it in the equation format that I could use. 14s I don't really care about also because they're both constants, and that's not going to help me solve it. And so in the end, now I see that there's a c and there's two components that have x, that both share this x. And that is the 7a plus 2b equals to c. And now I don't really care about this part anymore. I don't need it anymore. Now that I have all the information I need, now I'm looking at my clues and I'm thinking, well, what multiplies to 15? Well, I could think of a equals to 5, b equals to 3. See if that works. 5 plus 3 equals to 8 because 5, yeah, okay, that works, right? And so now I could actually plug these values into here because they state that they want the value for c. That is my end goal. And so I could plug into here 7 times 5 plus 2 times 3 equals to c. So 35 plus 6 equals to c. C equals to 41. And so one of my possible answers that I must have for c is 41. A doesn't have that, B doesn't have that, C doesn't have that, but D does. I don't need to solve for 31 if I know that as a fact 41 has to be one of my answers, and thus my final answer is D. And that concludes all of the problems for today. Thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe to our YouTube and our Facebook page, and I'll see you next time.